everyone, welcome to another What I Would Have Done Thursday, and today I'm going to be briefly discussing the film Sucker Punch and what I would have done differently. This film came out relatively recently and has received tons of reviews and tons of criticism, and I think it's only fair to sort of discuss the film and kind of get you an understanding of what it's about, and maybe present to you an alternative as to what I would have done had I had the power to maybe change this film for the product that we actually got. So, what does Sucker Punch follow? It basically follows this teenager or teenage girl who's called Baby Doll. And she basically is put into an insane asylum as a result of, I believe it's her stepfather, or someone that's so quasi-related to her, but not really. He basically takes her there because he wants to falsely present her as insane because he took out his anger towards them, and by them I mean Baby Doll and her sister, and he shot and killed her sister, and as a result, in order to not be accused of murder, he basically frames his child, even though it's, I guess, technically not his biological child, but he still blames his child for it. And I believe the mother was killed at some point. I'm not sure how or the circumstances, but I think it had something to do with money. But again, there's a lot of things within this film that are not really presented to you fully. Like, there's not a huge amount of dialogue. Again, it's all more based within visuals, which I think really hinders the film, and I'll kind of discuss as to why that is. But basically, ultimately, she goes into this insane asylum, and then once she is about to get lobotomized, because that's what they ultimately decide to do to her, she goes into these dreamlike sequences that are not a part of reality. Although they somehow relate to what's going on in the asylum, supposedly. I mean, there's really no... And this is really where the film starts to I think, lose itself, because it goes into something that's completely out there, and, you know, I think it's just for the sake of being visual eye candy rather than being of anything of real substance. And I think that's why we have this kind of setup. And what I think drew people to this film was the fact that we had pretty much a female cast and a female focus. The problem with that is that if you're trying to make a film that is about women and trying to have them do these very action-packed sequences, maybe not wearing these kinds of outfits that they chose to have them wear would be a little bit less distracting. I mean, I just think it's just so ridiculous, just having them wear very impractical clothing and very scantily clad clothing. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't really go for that kind of, it kind of contradicts what it's trying to, I think, present. So I think it's just very strange that they chose that route. But I think it was to be that sort of, you know, empowering women, but at the same time having them dress in very impractical clothing for action sequences, and there's so much heavy CGI too, and the visuals are just very, very just overpowering. Like, there was just a point where I was just like, okay, okay, can we go back to some semblance of a story? Can we please like go back as to what's going on? And you get so enraptured in the visuals, you're so confused. It completely sucks the audience out of the film. And a lot of it has to do with, again, going in these kinds of dream sequences. And that is where we have the problem. What I would have done is just have the story just take place at the asylum. It is emphasized that the other characters, the other girls that she encounters within sort of her quasi dream sequences, are actually present in the asylum itself, but I think it would have been more interesting had they just focused in on the asylum and and tried to have some creative moments there. I mean, I don't understand why she needed to go into a dream sequence. Why did she need to go and fight all of these bad guys that look like they're from video games? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's just very, very nonsensical. And again, I understand that the film to a certain extent is nonsensical, but you have to have some cohesion. You have to have some focus. And if you don't have a focus, then you don't have a film, unfortunately. What also they could have done, instead of just making it just a movie of dream sequences, they could have just had maybe some when she's at the mental ward, and maybe address something thematically or emotionally within the dream as she's trying to survive this insane asylum and coping living there. I mean, and then you could have all these ridiculous scenarios happening within the insane asylum. Like, that's all you really needed to do. Like, I mean, you didn't need to go into these really over-the-top elaborate action scene dream sequences. There's just no point. Had they just stick to the mental ward, I think they would have been better off. And I think it would have allowed for something to come out that would be of a resemblance of something that's more tied into being a film rather than being something of just pure visual eye candy. Again, this is a very visual film, but I think they could have done it with visuals and made it visually focused without going into all of these dream sequences, and providing some focus. Now, another thing that I would have done is that they do show the girls bonding, I think, within the film, but they don't do it, I think, to a good enough extent to where we can get personalities and different backstories and things like that. So, had they focused again more on the insane asylum, why are these girls here? What's going on with them? There's a lot of questions that don't remain answered that should kind of be answered if you're trying to present a story that revolves around them. So it doesn't make sense when Baby Doll goes into these dream sequences and there's no real connection between these girls, really. All they are is just within similar circumstances within the dream sequence. So, and going through action scenes. So really, that's, I think, a big issue. And if you wanted it to make it a film about women, you should show women bonding together. I think that only makes sense. And again, had they made it less action-packed and focused more on story, we would have had something that could have been worthwhile. Again, I'm not saying that they couldn't have action sequences or that they couldn't have dream sequences, but they couldn't make it the focus of the film because as a result of all these dream sequences, the audience gets confused and doesn't understand what's going on. There's no clear direction of the film, and it leaves the audience confused and not sure of what to ultimately think. And that's how I came away with this film. I did not know what to think. I was just like, what was that? Or what was the point? So I think had they focused again on these things, more on story, less on action, have just it revolve around Baby Doll being in the mental asylum. Had they focused more on the characters and developed the girl bondings, then we probably would have gotten a stronger film. Again, you could have emphasized a whole plot point of them trying to escape the mental asylum, which is really what they're trying to ultimately do, but they're doing it within dream sequences. And the thing is you don't need to create all these different dream sequences in order to get a point across. You can just show us the things that are really there and don't create this fantasy world where nothing really makes sense or ties in really with what's going on within a mental world. It doesn't make any sense. So again, I feel like that if they did did have a little bit more focus in there with the mental asylum, then they could have gotten I think, better product. And they could have had dream sequences, and they could have had scenarios where the girls are maybe imagining things, or they feel empowered at some point, one way or another. But you didn't need to you didn't need to make it all about dreaming. This is not Inception movie. I'm sorry. It's your focus isn't on dreams. It's on this girl power message. And if you want to do a girl power message, then at least give it some depth instead of just having them go and blow up stuff. Blowing up stuff doesn't make you a powerful person. Doesn't make you a powerful person at all. I mean, I don't get this whole mentality of, oh, because I have a gun or because I have a weapon, I'm somehow more powerful, I'm somehow better than somebody who doesn't, or whatever. There's defense through other ways, and there's also, again, too, that it seems like a lot of these dream sequences is like the girls are just kind of on the offensive pretty much the entire time, and it's just very strange. I just don't get it. I mean, it seems like that they just use these dream sequences as a means to show, like, oh yay, this girl has a gun, therefore she is more powerful. And it's like, no, I mean, yeah, she's more powerful in that she could defend herself, but at the same time, that doesn't make her a powerful character or a compelling character. That it's like giving, somebody a prop and saying you're better now because you have that prop. And again, it should be about the character. It shouldn't be about what they have in their hand. So that's, I think, really what this movie was hyping for. And I think as a result, this is why we see a real lack of substance with the characters. So again, that's, I think, really the major issues. Again, if they had less dream sequences, if they focused more on the mental asylum and the circumstances there, had they focused more on the girls bonding and with less action scenes, and them not wearing constantly scantily clad, really short shorts or short skirts and midriffs and all that stuff, then probably we could have gotten something a little bit more interesting. But I think, though, that's really ultimately all I can say about this film. I think if it did focus on things more that were related to substance, then we would have had something good, or at least decent. But this film, I think, was just too confused. I think it was trying to say some things, but I think it really got lost with its visuals, and it didn't focus on the importance of characters and story and plot, and I think as a result that's why the film suffers. But I think, though, that's really ultimately all I can say. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.